Alrighty, so today is a fine day for a black and white instruction booklet examination. Today we'll be looking at our first Game Gear book. This is Sonic Triple Trouble. Now, some interesting things here. The design of Sonic is definitely more in line with his original occurrence. So he's got a little bit of a portly belly, He's a little more of a cuter hog than what we get later on, which is a more kind of sleek, cool hog. Also, the Robotnik in the background is closer to the not the Sonic Sat AM Robotnik, which is like dark and brooding and genuinely evil, but the goofy other Sonic animation that was on at the same time and was confusing as crap for adults trying to figure out which thing the kid was actually into. But yeah, so this is Sonic Triple Trouble. This was a third Game Gear entry for the Sonic thing, and I remember when I had the Game Gear, there were a couple of things that I feel kind of put the nail in the coffin for it, because I mean Sega was again trying to compete with Nintendo. The problem was that Sega consistently made the mistake of reaching too close to the sun with their technology, where the Game Gear was significantly technologically more advanced than the Game Boy at the time of its inception. Like, they already had the backlit screen while Game Boy was still working was still just getting into color. They had a backlit screen, they had full color, but the thing was bulky, and also it took 6 batteries. It took 6 AA batteries to use, and would run out of power halfway through your road trip. And so, not to mention, beyond all of that, the quality of the games on the Game Gear, even though it's not as high a bar to meet. Well, no, I say there's not as high a bar to meet, but Pokemon exists on the Game Boy. Game Gear never had something like that. And it's hard to fight that. It is hard to fight that. At the very least, if Game Gear did have something like that, it's not super well advertised. So at any rate, you've got Sonic the Hedgehog Triple Trouble, made for the Game Gear. Right over here, you got that Sega seal, because Sega, while trying to do what Nintendo don't, actually does what Nintendo do. So let's go ahead and open this guy up. Alright, so the basic warning stuff. Incidentally, this section seems a little bit more simply constructed than the previous ones that we've seen. It just kind of says, hey, don't try and put this into something else. It won't work. That's the handling the cartridge section, basically. Don't put it into something that won't work. Don't throw it in the water. Don't be a dumb. Basic stuff. And it's like, the race is on. What is it? Dr. Robotnik is testing the ultimate destructive weapon. Pretty standard. There's an explosion. The Chaos Emeralds are everywhere. We gotta find them. And so you got Sonic and Tails. Your standard. And you got Dr. Robotnik. And then you've got Knuckles. In this case, in this one, this was during the Sonic 3 era, so Knuckles is more of a villainous type at this point. And then you've got Knack the Weasel, who was primarily in the Game Gear stuff. He gets more of a presence in the Archie comics, though. But yeah, and he's he's basically kind of like more of the secret baddie in this game. Like when you're hunting the emeralds, he's the one that actually kind of catches up to you when you're hunting them out. And so let's see here. You got the starting up. Put the cartridge here. And then we got take control. Just how to manage things. And I did mention this when I was looking at Castlevania. because they kind of blew me away a little bit with just the stylistics of the internals of the book. But even still, even a small amount of stylistics here with this type of font, because this font is also what they use in Sonic 3 all throughout. So it's kind of just a little bit of mental connectivity. It's kind of a subconscious thing. But, in-game pictures, of course, and decent amount of spacing. And again, we're using a zigzag pattern. So eye goes here, eyes drawn to here, drawn to here, drawn to here. Keeps your eye, keeps a little bit of interest as you go through. Oh yeah, and this one Sonic had the strike dash as opposed to the super peel out. Main difference being that you had you were invulnerable to enemy attack. It turns out that was a weakness, I think, of super peel out, was that you weren't invulnerable when you were using it, which meant spin dash was just the infinitely better usage, at least in my opinion. Okay, we got get ready, the starting screen, which, as per most Sonic games, very attractive starting screen. You got your player select, pretty basic stuff here. And because it's a Game Gear game, not much data to show. And what's interesting is that they put it all in the upper corner. They didn't do what is done in a lot of games, which is they use a little bit of real estate up here, a small amount of real estate down in the lower corner, and a small amount of real estate down in the other corner, just to make sure that you don't lose yourself under the data. But I think a part of it is that you just don't end up going in that direction very often in the Game Gear version. So, of course, you got the special items, and again, we're using some in-game images, and once again, zigzag technique. Boom, bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. Now, admittedly, going from here up to here, really the only reason that you would do that is because American reading from right to left. Rating top down, right to left. So you just go. So in actuality, probably I would have wanted to flip these. So put this guy over here. So you just kind of get up there, less distance for your eyes to go. You go up, basically. But yeah. Oh, hey, and the Sea Fox. That was fun. All right. And then more imagery. And so they took, once again, you can tell that they are actually paying attention to how they're actually arranging these things. Because I think, no, this is the one, because that one again, if you look at the pattern of the zigzagging, because here we start on this side. And here we start on this side. But on this side, we reverse it, and then we reverse it again over here. Which I'm not quite sure if that would. I probably wouldn't have reversed it. It's a small detail because you still get the same zigzagging effect, which keeps a mild amount of interest. Anyway, we get the bonus panels, and these are arranged in an aesthetically pleasing way, where we just kind of funnel down. We're funneled down to the bottom, and so I mean, you can either look down here and then go around and then come back up to the center, or you can go across and come down, go around, or most likely you're going to take in this top row, and then you're going to take in the second row, and then you're going to take in the bottom row, which I'm surprised that they didn't scrunch that in a little bit more, but at the same time, I mean, there's only two things on there, so it makes sense for them to also be aligned, so there's not too much there. All right, and, scoring pretty simple. You got images of the end-game stages. And this is actually, you can't really see it here. But this does actually kind of highlight one of the weaknesses of Sonic on the Game Gear, is just he takes up so much space on the screen. There's a lot less room for him to move fast. And so it makes playing the game a lot more difficult. And then you got the 3D stage, piloting. And then, oh, no game over image. But I wanted to see a super sick and sweet game over sign, much like in Castlevania. I still find it hilarious that I am assuming that they sourced that image from Nintendo of Europe. Anyway, and I didn't even check the back of this, but look, It's an advertisement for Echo, the Tides of Time, but not the Genesis one, the one on the Game Gear. It's available on Game Gear. But yeah. And so, I mean, I believe this is still in line with the pattern of the Sega things, right down to the fact that, I mean, if we compare this to, of all things, Magic School Bus, similar, just super simple, just like, it's a thing, buy it. You don't know what it is, you're not quite sure. I mean, just by reading this, I wouldn't know that this is about a dolphin that's trying to save the universe and goes into the future and meets dolphins that are filled with helium and have giant wings and can fly and have telepathic powers, and it's a weird game. Anyway, that's Sonic the Hedgehog Triple Trouble. It's a pretty by-the-numbers simple thing, and again, we're seeing a lot of it's a similar deal. Sega put a little bit less effort into their instruction manuals, at least during that era. And certainly for the Game Gear, it makes sense that they didn't actually put too much effort into too much expense into the manuals. But this one still had some design stuff that we could look at, particularly how it was directing the eyes across each page in such a manner where it was there was a little bit of interest there. A little bit of interest. And so I appreciate that. I do. So that is Sonic Triple Trouble. And I think I've got one more book that I'm going to be going over today. And when I say today, I mean I'm recording them all in one session, if that makes sense. You get it. I'm pretty sure you do. Anyway, so this is Redcoat of Vernacular Games, and we do video game consultation. We can help you flesh out what your game needs to be, get a plan all working, or we also do offer development services with programmers and artists ready and raring to go to help you out. We also do storyboarding and other helpful services for comic books and the like. So if that's something that piques your fancy as well, you can send an email to vernaculargames@gmail.com or send an email to vernaculargames@protonmail. Well, not vernaculargames@protonmail.com, although we do have a vernaculargames@proton.me. It's just a little bit unreliable. But we have redcoatvernac@protonmail.com. That is the other one that you can send an email to. So, with that out of the way, I only have a little bit more to do today. So, this has been Redcoat of Vernacular Games. Play the games you want to play, boyos. I'll see you on the flippies. Have a wonderful day.